Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Claudine Hemingway is a descendant of famed writer Ernest Hemingway. We bumped into each other at a party and decided to team up and dive deep into French history, but with a twist, by bringing a spotlight to those lesser-known creatives in France. This is History with a Hemingway. Welcome back to Paris History avec a Hemingway. Today we are talking about Liane de Pougy, and that is such a fun name. I know nothing about this person, and Claudine is going to teach us today. So thank you for tuning in. I'll let Claudine tell you more about Pougy.
I know. I kind of want to get all Charo on it, and that's going to date myself to say Charo. It'll be Pougy.
Charo's making a comeback. I know who Charo is. She was all over VH1 back in the day, too.
Yeah, she used to be on Love Boat.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't know her from that. I just knew her from doing like the funny little, like, you know, they always do the make fun of videos or whatever, and they always would bring her on.
I loved me some Love Boat, Fantasy Island, and then I saw those in, I don't know, the last like 6-7 years or something on TV, and I was watching Love Boat, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so horrible.
I feel that way about all the shows I watched as a kid. I was like, why did I watch this?
Yeah, I know, but back then I thought it was awesome.
Yeah,
anyway, we already had a segue. So Liane de Pougy, her real name, of course, was Anne-Marie Chassaigne. Her father was Pierre Chassaigne, and her mom was Aimée Gabrielle Lopez. She was educated in Brittany. She was born and educated in Brittany. And in 1886, she was 17 years old. She was, of course, married off. So she was married to a naval officer, and his name was Joseph Armand Henri Pourpee. Yes. So they got married on July 15th, 1886. And the next year in May, she had a son, Edmond Armand. And so they were living down in Marseille, and her husband repeatedly would beat her up.
Oh, no.
Yeah, not a good thing. So he was away a lot. And so while she was down there, she had, all this time on her hands. So she took a lover. I just love
smart woman.
She took herself a lover, and her husband supposedly had come in and caught her in bed with him.
Whoops.
And he shot at her and nicked her wrist. So luckily it was just a very easy wound. But he nicked her wrist with a bullet, and she was just like, I've had it. I'm not going to do this. She sold her piano and left her son there with her husband and her parents, and flew off to Paris.
I love that she got shot at and then just ran away to Paris.
Yes.
But also she abandoned her kid. Like, that's kind of weird. I'm always surprised.
It's always kind of strange when you hear it. I don't know. It's just a mother. I mean, it's just kind of strange. But he beat her so much that she had scars that she had her whole life, like on her chest.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, she was always trying to cover up. But she left her son behind, and flew off to Paris, and probably didn't fly, but because this was 1869 when she was born. But they had only been married for 2 years, and so she filed for her divorce, and her family was horrified because that was such a huge scandal back then. For a woman to be able to get divorced, and it's still like they thought it was a scandal she was getting divorced, but I guess it was okay that he was beating her.
Yeah, God, women had it so hard.
Yeah, it's still not that much better when you come to think about things like that.
Yeah, it's a huge problem in Paris and France still today. That's why they're doing all kinds of protests about femicide. Yeah,
it's pretty bad. But in Paris, she took dance lessons from a woman named Marie-Therese Mariquita. And but at that point, that is when she changed her name to Liane de Pougy.
She didn't want the same name as that. Well, she did take his name.
Yeah, the last name.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised she wanted to keep the last name.
I know, it is kind of surprising. You would think that she would just say, "Forget it, I could change it altogether." But
Mm.
she began to dance in the cabarets, and she started to gather a lot of attention because she was beautiful. Like I'll post to there's a picture that I will post on my website of her. And if you recall the scene in My Fair Lady when they go to the races and all the women are wearing like black and white and they have those huge white hats and stuff, and there's a picture of her that's what she looks like, and she's just beautiful.
Yeah, I need to look at
Yeah,
it.
she's really pretty. So when she was there, she was dancing in these clubs, she met a man named Henri Meilhac, who was a playwright, and he was instantly, of course, drawn to her. He ended up being able to get her a job at the Folies Bergeres, which was a huge, it still is in Paris, big they had lots of different acts and dancing. And so in April 1884, she also premiered on the Olympia stage.
Wow, she like shot up there really quick.
Yeah, and when the Olympia first opened, of course, it was opened by one of the same gentlemen that actually opened the Moulin Rouge. It was more that's what they had. Like, now it's a concert hall. But and Edith Piaf from everybody in the world has played there. But it first started where they actually would have like circus acts and different stage shows.
So fun.
Yeah, because the owner, before it was the Olympia, he actually had in that spot was a wooden roller coaster.
What?
Yeah, I mean, most roller coasters, the structure of itself, was wooden back then, and even,
Yeah.
not that long ago. But they were really worried that it would catch on fire. So he was actually forced to close it, and then they built the Olympia.
Sounds like he was a good businessman.
He was pretty smart. Yeah, and the Olympia is still there today. Go back to our Edith Piaf episode for more on that.
Exactly.
But she was there. She was starting to get even more attention. The critics were not as amused by her charm. They didn't think that she was, she didn't exactly command the stage, but because she was so beautiful, she did in that way. And one of them actually had said that she was the prettiest woman of the century.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty big distinction. But she took acting lessons from Sarah Bernhardt, who let her know after a few lessons that she had no talent, and that Sarah told her to open her mouth only to smile.
Oh, that's terrible.
That is terrible. But, we've talked a lot about these different ladies that are courtesans and dancers and stuff. And usually sometimes it doesn't translate to all of a sudden you're a triple threat.
Yeah, that's true. You usually have one talent.
Yeah, it's kind of the acting was not hers. But so of course she became a courtesan, which is our favorites. And she was one of the most popular one at that time. And the men devoted to her were, the list was long and included like Maurice the Rothschild. He basically gave her tons of jewels and gifts and lots of money, which she was a smart chick. But she met Natalie Barney, who we've also talked about before. She met her one night at a bal musette, and Natalie instantly fell in love with her. Liane just kind of pushed her away. She was definitely, she would sleep with the women, a lot of women for her own pleasure, and then the men were the work. But Liane kind of kept pushing Natalie away. Natalie one day showed up at her home that was in 15 Rue de la Neve, and dressed as a Florentine page, standing outside her window singing to her.
No way.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this on Natalie's, but it was like, the 19th century Say Anything.
Yeah, I love that.
But she finally she wore Liane down, and the two of them had an affair for a while. But as we remember, Natalie wasn't so good when it came to being faithful. She expected her partners to be faithful, but she didn't feel that she needed to maybe have the same sort of lessons.
Difficult.
Yeah. So The two of them wouldn't last very long. Liane actually wrote a book called The Sapphire Idol in September of 1901, and it was based a lot on their affair. The character of Flossie was Natalie, and it was pretty well known all over Paris that who it was actually about, and it made Natalie famous.
Drama.
Yeah, she was famous in Paris. The two of them, there's we talk about in Natalie's episode about how they go down to the island of Lesbos, and they while they were there, Natalie decided that another old lover would come down with them, and so Liane was like, "Yeah, forget it, I'm out of here."
Smart woman.
Yeah. Just recently in 2019, a bunch of their letters between the two of them was actually published.
Oh, did you read it?
I haven't looked them up to read any of them, but that was a long time. So 2019.
Yeah, that's like now.
Yeah, it's now. But Liane actually had with one of my favorite courtesans that we've talked about, Valtesse de Labin. She taught her the art of being a courtesan. And it was much later. It was after Valtesse decided, she wasn't really good. She kind of, hung up her courtesan coat and decided to, they were involved in a relationship. And she was basically passing on all of her knowledge and her skills onto Liane. And it was in, the later years. And she would spend a lot of time out where Valtesse at her home outside of Paris.
Just chilling.
But she preferred, the company of women in her own private time. But it didn't stop her. Composer Reynold Hand, he basically inspired him to write quite a few different pieces and sonnets, basically all about her. And he would come and spend the day with her while another a painter named Antonio de la Ganda would sit there and paint her. So she would just sit there and somebody be painting her and somebody writing sonnets and, composing things about her while she just sat there.
That's so epic. I love that she's just like hanging out while someone's writing love songs about her, and another dude's painting her. Yeah. Like she's just being worshipped
by the prettiest woman of the century.
I mean, she really upgraded by leaving that like woman beater guy. Like, thank God.
Oh, for sure. But she also, she was an author too. So she started writing that book where she wrote Sapphire Idol. And then she wrote quite a few other books. After that, she wrote many novels and stories. Her first novel was La Susan in 1898, and it was about the life of a courtesan, write what you know. Basically, it was this life of this courtesan named Josine de Levin, and then other half-worldly women, as a lot of the times they'd like to call the prostitutes, were of the half-world, the demi-monde.
I like that, actually.
I know. It's like, what does that mean? Like they're in between, like good and evil and, heaven and hell? Like, what is this? I guess if you go to them, depending on what you want, it is a little bit, otherworldly.
Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, she also wrote like books that were like, comedy, like they were funny. So she wrote more than 5 novels and a ton of short stories that were published, and they were very popular. She basically was like, the most famous courtesan at the time. In 1904, she served as an editor of a weekly paper that was called L'Art d'être, and she served as the illustrated. It was all about, it had illustrations of different women, not like we're not talking Playboy, but it was a weekly magazine. She was basically the cover girl of it as well. The editor.
She was a busy woman. She wasn't just a pretty face.
Yeah, she was it published for 25 weeks until January of 1905.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of pretty awesome. But as the most famous courtesan, of course, she ended up getting more attention from people. And so in 1908, she met a Romanian prince named George Ghica. He was the nephew of the Queen Natalie of Serbia, and he was 15 years younger than her.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, cougar. He was a prince, and he had the title and everything, but he was basically dirt poor.
Huh.
He had like no money. They ended up meeting because she one day, and this was ended up being, this was in the New York Times. They were married in on June 8th, 1910. She was wearing a mauve wedding dress
Mhm.
at the Saint Philippe de Roy Church. The next day, it was on the cover of the New York Times
What?
that they were married. I saw the whole article and everything. Like I could see like the whole scan of the article. And it was titled "The Paris Professional Beauty Marries Prince Gika Who Championed Her."
Who championed her?
Yeah. And the story of that is because one day she was out, and I love everything about this. She was getting laughed at by a group of people on the streets of Saint-Germain because she was wearing this huge hat. And people were like mocking her because she was wearing this big hat.
For a hat.
A hat in Paris, the capital of hats. So, but it was so in 1914, she actually he went up to her or 1910, sorry. He went up and like helped save her, and like he ended up getting in an altercation and getting arrested for assault.
What? I love this so much. He defended her hat honor.
Yeah, her hat honor because these people were making fun of her. And then she decided to marry him.
I mean, if that's not a love story, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's stuff that's the fairy tales are written of.
Don't be making fun of big hats, people.
I know. I mean, there people wear hats in Paris all the time.
Seriously, but not really big ones.
Not really big ones. But now I really want some gigantic hat that's like the picture that I'll put on the website of her, like from My Fair Lady. It's got to happen.
You got to do it.
Yeah, in 1914, her son had served in as part of a pioneering group of pilots in World War I, and he tragically died, which devastated her. She was completely upset. She ended up going to a nursing home for a short period of time. I think it's a different nursing home than we think of, but she went to a nursing home for a short time because she was so distraught and so upset. But I didn't find a lot about, I mean, she must have ended up having some sort of a relationship with her son after she left him, when she left for Paris. But she still nonetheless was quite upset. The marriage was pretty good until 16 years into it. In July of 1926, he left her for a woman named Marianne Thibault, who had been actually Liane's lover.
What?
Yeah, so she had this lover, Marion, and then her husband took up with the lover.
This is fascinating.
I know. Well, and it's really great because a lot of articles about her would say how she went from being the whore to a nun. So stay tuned. It's getting better.
What a colorful life.
Yeah. So he left her, and he told her that she could cheat on him basically at this point. She could sleep with women, but she wasn't allowed to sleep with men because then that would be infidelity. After he left. And so she ended up calling up her old friend Natalie, and she and Natalie reunited for a period of time. And Natalie was also involved with a woman named Mimi Franchetti. Basically the three of them kind of had a little bit of a throuple, a little three-way relationship.
So she was fine with the throuple in the end.
Yeah, so she was fine with that, and the husband, the penniless prince, was fine with it too, except that then she threatened she was going to divorce him, and he returned back to Paris to be with her to avoid the scandal that a divorce would cause.
Wait, so well, I guess back then, yeah, you didn't get divorced even if you were a penniless prince. That's so funny.
And
so
she's probably like, I've already done it before. I've been divorced, so I'll just call up my same guy and get another divorce.
Yeah, no big deal.
No big deal. So he ended up coming back. It was never really, things were, of course, not really the same with them. In 1928, they left for Grenoble, where she ended up meeting the Mother Superior of the Saint-Ange Asylum. Mary Xavier. It was an institute. They had an institute for disabled children there, and Liane took it upon herself to be like the champion of that and to try to raise money. She was contacting like all of her rich friends back in Paris to get money donated to help these children and take care of the institution and the church, and she did very well at it. A lot of people gave money. And so she basically kind of took that onto her calling. She spent more and more time there, and she eventually took the vow in August 14th, 1943, so quite a long ways later, to become a nun of the Saint Dominic.
What?
Yeah.
So she went from being this gorgeous supermodel, fancy prostitute married to a prince to a nun.
Yep. So now you see why it's called from a whore to a nun. I just combined the words.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah. And she changed her name again. Now she was Sister Anne Marie de la Penitence.
Is that where she lived the rest of her life?
Yeah. So the prince died April 19th, 1945. I mean, 1945, that's not that long ago when we look at all the people we talk about. 1945 is not that long ago. She moved to Switzerland. She ended up staying in a hotel room at the Carlton Hotel in Lausanne, Switzerland. She rarely ever left it. She stayed basically in that room for like 4 years until her death the day after Christmas, 1950.
So she was a nun, but then she became like a fancy nun living in a hotel?
Yes.
I want to be a fancy nun living in a hotel.
Yeah. The Carlton Hotel. She was buried back at St. Agnes, where she was doing all that work for, in the cemetery they had there. From 1919 to 1941, she kept a very detailed diary of everything in her life, which is, I'm sure, incredibly interesting to read. I could only find it in French so far, and I couldn't find it anywhere to order it. So I'll be on the lookout at the Bouquiniste to see if I could find that. It was published in 1977 after her death, and it was My Blue Notebook.
My Blue Notebook?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so sad. She died alone, though. Like, she lived alone for 4 years, like her husband and her. What happened to her throuple? Like, she just dumped that for God? Like,
I'm sure, because Natalie would, the wind would blow and she'd be on to somebody different.
Yeah, Natalie was a busy.
Yeah. When her husband came back, it was more like, for show, that they were together. And I don't think there was a lot of love anymore between the two of them. The prince that, saved her hat.
The penniless prince.
The penniless prince.
Well, that was fascinating. I feel like that needs to be a soap opera.
It basically is. I mean, her house, and I'll put pictures on my website, ClaudineHemingway.com, of the place that she lived. It was near Parc Monceau. And just it's still there. The facade of it is absolutely gorgeous.
I definitely want to go see it. I'm going to look at your pictures so I can go hunt it down.
Yes.
And keep track of all these, fancy lesbians.
Yeah, that whole area, there's like these streets right off of Parc Monceau, up to the, I guess it would be like the northwest side of Parc Monceau, that I walked one day and I just ended up going down this one street, and I literally was like every single building. I was like, oh my God. I was like taking a million pictures and writing, like making all these notes about the different architects, because a lot of times they're on the side of the building. There was just this one street, and I think it's the same street that she lived on, that is just like one place after another is just gorgeous. And it's not an area that people go to.
Interesting. Yeah, you probably saw, because I've shot a lot of portrait sessions there, but I don't explore around the side streets, but they're all super fancy. You're right.
Yeah, they're very fancy. But it was there. I mean, that's where Sarah Bernhardt lived. The outside of the facade of the building where she used to live has actually like two rats like chasing each other, like chasing each other, and they're just like as a sculpture on the side of the building.
Weird rats.
Which is the only way I will ever be okay seeing one, is that a sculpture on the side of the building, and that still grosses me out.
There's a lot of them in Paris. You're bound to see one.
I don't look under bushes or
don't walk around at night.
No.
Well, thank you so much for another fun-filled episode. And don't forget to join Claudine on her virtual walks around Paris. Every Sunday, she gives you history and she walks live with you over Zoom. So make sure you sign up. It's only $15 a household to join these tours. Great deal to get history and travel to Paris virtually. And you can sign up for that on her website or check out her Instagram. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to Paris History Avec a Hemingway. If you want to find out some more, you could always find me on my Instagram page, Claudine Bleu Blanc Rouge, and that's Bleu, as in the French way to spell it. And each day I post a daily history lesson about a person or a place or something in Paris, or it's lots of fun facts. And then also at ClaudineHemingway.com, where you can also sign up for my newsletter there.